Several videos were released showing the U.S. military and aircraft of the U.S. military engaging UFOs. 3 videos, such as the one that I just showed you, just a clip of it, was released. Initially, the Pentagon said it wasn't theirs. Eventually, Freedom of Information Act showed and confirmed that it was. The Navy has come out and has confirmed that the videos are indeed legit. The videos are legit. All 3 videos that were released showing U.S. military aircraft engaging and interacting with UFOs, sometimes over the course of minutes, were, in fact, legit. These were released to the New York Times, to the Stars Academy. Essentially, these videos were making their rounds. They have been seen by all sorts of people. And the Navy finally comes out and says, yes, we were engaging UFOs. No, we're not going to tell you any more information about it. However, we were engaging UFOs. No, we have no idea what they are. But yes, the videos that show them are real. And no, those videos were not set for public release. Welcome to an early morning soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, you find yourself coming back often, please like, share, subscribe. Of course, you can support this content through PayPal or Patreon. Let's start off with the UFO story. Essentially, multiple videos were released to the public. They have different names: Go Fast, Gimbal, and there's one other, Tic Tac, I believe it's called. But ultimately, these videos, I have to be honest, don't show much. More so that the videos just show U.S. aircraft engaging something. And if I'm being honest, if it wasn't for the Freedom of Information Act showing it, and if it wasn't for the sources and whatnot being credible, it would be unclear on whether or not these videos were real. However, the military has come out saying these videos are indeed real. These pilots were indeed engaging something that they did not know what they're engaging. And the capabilities of the aircraft that they're engaged dramatically, and that's to put it mildly, exceeded our own. In fact, the abilities of the craft were such that even members of Congress recognized that a new level of physics would be necessary to describe the movements of the craft. And the inquiries into the Navy is asking about, do you know what this is? Do you have this notion of the physics that are necessary for this to take place? This seems like it would be a merger of some kind of gravitics, even some kind of level of like warp technology potentially. What information do you have? The Navy says we don't know. Yes, it's real. Yes, it's legit. Yes, our craft were engaging things that we don't know what they're engaging. But no, we have no idea what they were. More interesting than the videos, and I've said this on more than one occasion, is the pilot testimony. The videos don't really show you much. The videos just show you that the pilots were engaging something, but those videos, for the most part, there's a dot on the screen that's moving. It's the pilot testimony, the people who were up in the aircraft, who were looking at that particular craft for several minutes, that could give across this notion that this was a piece of technology. This comes across as some kind of craft. And yes, this craft was doing things that our planes couldn't do. This is Daniel Fravor. Daniel Fravor was up in the sky, one of 2 craft, looking at one of those UFOs for all intents and purposes. Listen to how he describes it. Listen to what he describes. And again, keep in mind that the Navy has just said that what he is saying is, in fact, a true accounting of events.
Thank you for coming on tonight. Tell us what you saw.
Well, we had launched on a routine training mission. When we joined up, we were told that the event was going to be canceled, and that we have real-world tasking, and we were sent out to the west. Now, take in mind that this has taken place about 100 miles southwest of San Diego, between San Diego and Ensenada, Mexico. Yep. On a clear, perfect day, blue waters. We get out to the spot where they tell us it's at. We start looking around, And both of us, both airplanes, see a disturbance in the water and a white 40-foot long tic-tac shaped object just hovering above the water, going forward, back, left, right. There's no rotor wash, there's no wings, nothing. So as we drive around in a clockwise flow, we get to about
The reason he says that, because he wants to get across there's nothing that would allow for this thing to do what it does under the normal means of what we understand to be physics to be. Meaning we don't have anything that can do that without any kind of propellant or something being pushed from under the craft or some kind of rotors or something to that effect. He's saying none of that was in existence. That thing was just kind of hovering. Let's keep going.
the 9 o'clock position, and I said, well, I'm going to go down and check it out, and the other jet is going to stay high. So as we go down, when we get to the 12 o'clock position, it starts to mirror us. So it's in a clockwise flow, and it's on the opposite side of the circle from us. And we continue this. It's in a climb. We're in a descent. We're getting a great look at it. This whole thing takes about probably up to 5 minutes from the time we show up.
He gets the opportunity to watch this for 5 minutes. So this is not, bam, something happened. I don't necessarily know what I saw. This is a pilot in an aircraft observing another, what he considers to be a craft, and that craft is mirroring his movements, meaning if it was a drone, that drone wouldn't be mirroring the movements. And by the way, if it was some kind of drone, still, somebody had to build it. The technology that was applicable to that drone had to come from somewhere. I guess that's my point. Whether it's a drone or not, it's somewhat irrelevant to what we're talking about. Something under some level of intelligent control was mirroring his actions. He couldn't necessarily tell what it was, and the technology that was being employed seemed to go beyond what he would typically understand technology to be. This guy's been in the military for like 19 years, and if I'm not mistaken, was flying on 9/11 to keep this country safe. He is as credible gets. Let's keep going.
I get over to the 8 o'clock position. It's at about the 2 o'clock position, and I decide I'm going to go and see what it is, and it's about 2,000 feet below me. And I cut across the circle, and as I get within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerates to the south in about 2 seconds and disappears.
What would you estimate the speed?
Oh, well above supersonic. It like a bullet out of a gun, it took off.
So from what you know about aerodynamics, mechanics, physics, should this be possible, what you saw?
Not with the technology that we have today. Not at all.
Even now, even 13 years later, is there anything that you know of capable of this kind of behavior?
No, there's nothing I know of. I mean, this when we saw the video with the IR, it has no exhaust. No discernible things of anything form of propulsion, and this thing came from a dead hover over the water, just kind of moving around, to a climb up to about 12,000 feet to rapidly accelerating away in a climb, and in less than 2 seconds it was gone. And you figure you're talking 50 miles of visibility, and you can easily see an object that size easily out to 10 miles, and it just disappeared in seconds.
What would be the effects on a human pilot of the G-forces involved in that altitude change?
Well, the altitude wouldn't be bad. It would be the acceleration of the object.
That's right.
Honestly, I wanted to fly it.
Yeah,
but,
I bet.
There's, talking to some physicists, they don't think the human body could handle that.
They don't think the body could tolerate it. Meaning, under what we understand to be normal propulsion, there's a certain degree of, there's an inertia effect. Meaning, if you look at Star Trek, one of the things that you would often see sometimes when the ship is about to explode, they would say inertial dampeners failed. What they're talking about is the ship accelerates, and the ship is going at such a speed that the people in the ship itself, under normal physics conditions, would essentially get splattered against the hull of the ship. Now, if they're using warp drive, that's not really an issue, because warp drive uses a different physics in regards to propulsion. It's using some kind of gravitics where it's creating a warp bubble. So for all intents and purposes, from what it experienced from the people inside the ship, will be nothing. It would be as if they were standing still, even though the space is contorting in front of them and back of them. Meaning the space that in front of them squeezes, and then the space expands behind them, allowing them to move. This doesn't necessarily require anybody within the context of the ship itself to feel any sort of motion or whatever. However, if they are going at some kind of regular speeds, meaning they're in the ship, they're not going at some kind of warp drive speeds. Inertial dampeners are one of those things that prevents them from feeling the momentum, the motion of the ship. However, when those things fail, they splat against the wall. You feel those effects when you're in your car and you press the pedal to the metal and you're going and you feel like you're pushing back on your seats. Same thing. A craft that is going that fast would have essentially pancaked whatever was in that craft if it was using our typical speeds. It literally would have pushed the individual or whoever was in the craft all the way to the back and squished them in this kind of pancake effect. It's possible that the craft wasn't accelerating under the normal physics to which we understand. Fravor here is making this point that this doesn't look like any technology that we're aware of. And seeing as the guy has been a pilot for God knows how long, his clearances out the wazoo, his thought is, if this was something that was one of ours, I would have been one of the people to know. Now, I don't necessarily think that's true per se. I mean, people could be read into particular projects, and they're projects that he might not necessarily be privy to. However, I go back to my original point. It's either us or it's not. Either this is a piece of technology that we have access to that he has no idea about, in which case the pilots were flying this for unknown reasons and exposing this particular technology, again, for unknown, unspecified reasons. But clearly, it was flying it in a way to make itself available to the vision and the viewpoint of the pilots themselves. Now, I say this for two reasons. If it is ours, then the question becomes, why is it being exposed to him now? Why are these videos being released? And why is he coming out talking about this now? If it's ours, why all of this now? And understand, if it's ours, this is just as momentous. We're talking about technology that, for the most part, some kind of breakthrough in physics that would allow our technology to do what he is describing, something that is well beyond what our current level of technology can do. That will mean that there will be a parallel attractive technology that is running side by side with our current level of technology and has left our current technology in the dust. So much so that when an experienced Navy pilot comes across the technology, it literally seems like it's out of this world. The second alternative, and the only other alternative, is not ours. And I don't have to go into how momentous that would be. Ultimately, my only point in this video is that the Navy has come out and has confirmed that what Fravor is saying here and the video that's being shown here is legit. All doubts to the side, they are agreeing that these videos are legit and that these videos should not have been released to the public. They're acknowledging that his story, by extension, is legit. And what he was seeing when he was up there in the sky looking at that craft for over 5 minutes, all of this is beyond conjecture at this point. This is real. This is real. Let's see. I have a chat, and I'm not going to keep this long, but I thought this was awesome. Mate, do you ever sleep? Greetings from Australia. I don't sleep well. I tend to be an insomniac, and there are days where I go for a few days before I eventually conk out. This is one of those days where I just so happen to playing makeup from yesterday. Typically on Tuesdays, I do a radio show. And the videos I do for the radio show, oftentimes they're like 5 topics. And so those 5 topics essentially equate to what I'm doing for the day. I lose a bit of cash on that, but that's okay. I mean, for the most part, I still get to hit on multiple stories. Yesterday was a mess. Yesterday was a failure on all fronts. And so I needed to play catch up on the stories that I would have ran with, ideally, if everything went under normal and ideal situations. Ergo, I'm here early in the morning, still doing the news. I took a bath, took a shower, got a little bit of meditation in. All those things are the same, by the way. I have a hard time doing anything else. If I'm sitting here, I'm usually doing something. So that's one of those times where you can just kind of zone out. And then I came back here to do the news. That's been essentially what has been taking place all night. So yes, I do sleep. No, not over the past couple of days. And yes, at some point I will conk out. And thank you for the super chat. Juan Gomez. I will leave it here because I have multiple stories that I want to get to. So, like, share, subscribe. The conspiracy theorists that still cling to this notion that these stories aren't real. At some point, you got to wake up. I need to understand what you would take issue with in this. I guess you can make the argument that that's not a piece of technology. Maybe. I mean, that's what the pilot said. It was technology. And you could say we don't know that it's a flat fact. But I'm not quite sure if that makes the story any less profound. Any way you look at it, this is utterly and entirely profound. And the U.S. military has just given you confirmation that they have been engaging UFOs. Like, share, subscribe. And goodbye.